Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 8. So we are back in a couple of days with The Flash after it took a week off. For some reason, I don't actually know if there was a reason outside of just having like a scheduled break. Anyway, we are back, and of course, we are coming back to Deathstorm starting his proper reign of terror across Central City after being revealed as the one behind the Black Flame murders, with him now having a proper body and presumably even more power. I guess you could say he leveled up. I'm sorry. Anyway, in this video, we have two things to go over. Firstly, they did release a new trailer, surprisingly, just came out of nowhere, for The Flash Season 8, which has footage for the next handful of episodes within it. I think up to either episode 15 or 16. And we also have a synopsis or description for episode 14 for this season, which does tease some sad stuff coming our way, and more importantly, sad stuff coming its way to Team Flash. But firstly, let's actually watch that new trailer that was recently released and then break that down as well as a synopsis as well, because there's a decent amount to talk about.
Do you do this kind of thing all the time?
Do what?
Be a hero.
Can I say it's a living?
You're lucky your boss is a superhero.
Take my hand. Man, you kids on Team Flash do some crazy stuff. We're this city's first line of defense.
Got it.
Hold on. Are you about to do what I think you're about to do? Yeah, okay, that's gonna take some time to get used to.
I'll always be there for you.
Do not engage this monster.
Get away from me!
We're more than just Team Flash. We're a family. And if anyone tries to hurt a member of this family, we stop them.
Something's wrong.
Everyone loses faith in themselves sometimes. But learning how to keep believing in yourself when the whole world is telling you the opposite, that's what makes a hero.
Do what you do best. Run into the unknown and trust yourself.
But yeah, interesting trailer, especially that, back half of it. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and opinions and theories and predictions. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking, heading into not only the next episode that's coming our way, but the next handful of ones that were showcased in that trailer as well. And of course, if you're looking forward to everything and just want to show your support and you enjoyed the video, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? It helps out a lot. So firstly, let's actually start with the trailer breakdown. So we get some footage from previous episodes. I think it's just mainly to fill out the trailer and maybe like recap us a tiny bit and sort of, not really. But yeah, just some old footage. But then we have Chillblaine, which is a bit random because he's in more than just a few shots in the trailer, which, as I said, yeah, pretty random, as he's only been in like, I think 2 episodes, this season. I think he was in the second last episode of Armageddon, and he was in like one episode like a few episodes ago with those scenes with Caitlin and Frost in the bar. But I don't think we have seen him in any other episodes outside of that. It might be mind blanking, but I can only remember him in 2 episodes. But we don't see any new shots of Caitlin or Frost in the trailer. They're in the trailer, but they're not new shots. They're from previous episodes. So what's going on there? Like, what does that mean? Well, it might tie to what we talk about in regards to the synopsis for episode 14. So we're going to come back to that, but just keep the fact that they weren't in the trailer, or at least in the new footage from the trailer, just keep that in the back of your head. Now, yes, we do get an Allegra and Chester scene. Look, just pull off the Band-Aid and make them a thing if you're going to. Stop dragging. I know it's pointless talking about it now because they're filming the finale, so it's not like they can just retract some stuff they've done and go, okay, we'll listen to Pagey and quickly do this in one episode. But hopefully they just pull off the Band-Aid in these next couple of episodes. Eric Wallace clearly wants to make these 2 people that don't have any chemistry a thing. Just pull off the Band-Aid, please. Just do it. I can't stand the stretching of this out anymore. Now, we do have some stuff for this week's upcoming episode with Kramer warning her fellow officers, or I guess just her officers, I guess she's leading it all, to not engage with the monster, that of course being Deathstorm. Now, I guess the question is, will they listen to these orders? I mean, you'd hope so, otherwise they most likely are going to be killed. But I'm very intrigued to see, like, the response from Central City, because one thing that I think we've lacked over the past couple of seasons, and I know it was because of the pandemic and they couldn't do too much with a lot of guest stars and just big crowds and everything like that, but I would really like to see feel the city, if that makes sense. Feel the city reacting to things like this. And I think a character like Deathstorm, who clearly is all about, going around killing, and the trailer for this upcoming episode Not the one we just watched, but the one for this week's episode, sort of showcase is going to be going around and killing a decent amount of people. So I wouldn't mind seeing actual Central City citizens, I guess you could say, react to this, because we haven't really had that over the past couple of seasons, though I understand why. Now, speaking of CCPD, we do get a shot of Barry in the CCPD, and it's not dealing with anything like forensic. I think this is a hot dog eating competition. I might be wrong, but I think there's a floating hot dog in the background or something like that. And there's crumbs all over the plate. It looks like those cups where you like dip the hot dog into, or at least the bread, to eat it quicker. And I mean, Barry should nail this, though. This is giving me some drunk Barry vibes from season 4. I mean, can you get drunk off hot dogs? Maybe. I mean, surely there's some weird chemicals in those hot dogs. So I guess we'll find out in this episode. Like, how many hot dogs can you eat before those chemicals start to affect you? So maybe we'll find out. Now we see this weird looking like mech cyborg type guy who I'm pretty sure relates to episode 14, which you will understand when we get to the synopsis breakdown for that episode, you know, later in the video. But it does look like he flips the cop car here and then it explodes. Now, I have no clue if this is meant to be a familiar character to us. And the only reason I say that is because he is all covered up. Like, only his eyes are visible. So sometimes when they do that, it's because, haha, I pull off my mask and you can see who I am. It was me, that person that you've seen maybe early in the episode, or I'm a relative to someone. And they're like, oh my God, it's cousin Jimmy. So I don't know if it's meant to be something along those lines, but he is all covered up, which is a bit odd to me. But yeah, I guess we'll find out soon whether he's meant to be familiar or not. Now, we do see Dion with Iris in her apartment, with Dion saying something's wrong. Now, we know Iris's time sickness is on the fritz, and she apparently leaves the show for 4 episodes, I think it is, with episode 15 being the first episode she is gone. So, obviously, in the previous episode, what's her name? Tinya Wazo, like, made her disappear, but we know she's in this week's upcoming episode because she's not only in the trailer for it, but also in a good amount of the promo images. So, I don't know how she comes back all of a sudden really quickly. I guess we'll find out in a couple of days. But because she's leaving for 4 episodes with 15 appearing to be the first episode she's gone, that means she should probably, properly leave, I guess you could say, leave in a scene at the end of episode 14 or sometime during that episode, the back half somewhere. It is going to be interesting to see whether it's a safety reason that she leaves. Like, oh my God, you're on the fritz so much, we need to put you somewhere so you stay contained, similar to what happened last season. Or maybe she leaves or disappears unexpectedly, and that's sort of the mystery to solve for those next few episodes for Barry and maybe some others. Like, where did Iris go? And I guess also, how the hell do they bring her back? Now, we do get to see Nora in this trailer, Barry and Nora, or the Flash and XS in the Speed Lab, as well, like mainly in the Speed Lab. And there's a lot of like green lights going around, so it looks like this is the still force maybe that they're in, at least in some of the shots. There is another shot of Barry just by himself in Joe's house with the same green light effect going on. Now, this is most likely episode 15 for this season, which is otherwise entitled Into the Still Force, so I guess you can understand why I think it's episode 15. And as I just said, this should be the first episode that Iris is gone from the show for a handful of episodes, so Barry must go into the Still Force, maybe with the help of Dion, to find some clues or reasoning for what happened to Iris. Now, I'm not sure how Nora specifically would play into that, especially without Bart showing up as well, but it does appear that Barry and Nora also have scenes outside of the Still Force, as this part here, once again, the Speed Lab, doesn't look like it's in the Still Force, like those other shots with the green lighting. Maybe it is, and maybe we just can't see the green going on in this scene in particular, but it just doesn't look like it's in the Still Force like those other shots. Now, we knew Nora was in this episode due to stuff from set, but weren't too sure what was going down specifically in this episode. But this was the episode with that like Zoom and Godspeed newspaper that was seen on set. So this could be a very weird one. And I think this was the episode that Eric Wallace, the showrunner for the show, he directed it, I'm pretty sure. So, and I think he said he had the trippy weird episode. So, I mean, into the Still Force, you never know what could happen. But that's it from the trailer. That's, stuff that's worth talking about. So let's jump into the synopsis for episode 14 for this season. And this episode is otherwise entitled Funeral for a Friend. Yeah. Team Flash uses the distraction of a bank-robbing meta to detract from the grief of losing someone they love. Now, just firstly, this episode was written by the 2 executive producers below Eric Wallace, so I'm not too sure if that highlights the level of importance of the episode or not, but I just thought I'd mention that. But yeah, bank robbing meta, which is most likely that mech cyborg dude from the trailer breakdown, because he was walking out of like a bank. I think it was like a savings and loan thing you saw on the side. So yeah, it's a bank. But more importantly, like just skip over that dude. They are using the distraction of him showing up and taking him on to detract from the grief of losing someone they love. What? So this is like when this synopsis came out, it obviously sent people into like, what the hell? Who's dead? Like who do they die? Like who dies? And if it's for Team Flash and someone they love, so it presumably shouldn't be someone like Ronnie, because only Barry and really Caitlin had any proper connection to Ronnie. Like they were the only ones that really had any proper connection. You could argue Joe, but Iris knew Ronnie for like hardly any amount of time. So like it would mainly be Barry and Caitlin, and to an extent Joe, and even Joe would be a bit of a long shot if you want to call it. And of course, we know that Rick Cosner is meant to be coming back as Eddie, but we don't know when he's showing up as well. So the funeral could have been for him. And when this original title came out, like 3 weeks ago, I think the title for this episode came out, but we didn't have the synopsis at the time. People were thinking, Ronnie or Eddie or someone like that. But now we have the synopsis, and it's the entire Team Flash should love this person. So it's someone who's on Team Flash currently. Now, people were saying Cecile. I think that was just maybe like them wishing Cecile would die or something like that. I'm not too sure, but no, she filmed episodes after this. And I mean, she was even on set with that mech cyborg meta dude. So she's definitely not the person that dies. We know 2 other characters that don't die are Allegra, because she was also seen on set here, and she was seen going to the funeral in question for this friend, and also Iris. But we know that because she, I think people thought that maybe it could have been for Iris and they think she died, but she just disappeared. But no, Iris actually goes to the funeral for this person as well, apparently. Now, this only leaves like a handful of people. The Joe, and I mean, we know Jesse L. Martin's coming back next season, and so I don't think it's Joe. Could be Joe, but I don't think it's Joe. Chester, doesn't look like it's Chester because he was in other scenes for episodes, but then again, they could have been scenes... Well, no, because he's been seen filming currently as well, so he's still filming. And then people have been saying Caitlin. Now, I can understand the Caitlin thing, because Caitlin, we were saying before, wasn't featured in the trailer, but she also wasn't on the recent poster. But we know Danielle Panabaker has still been filming the show, so people think that Caitlin dies and Frost lives. However, it's important to remember that Caitlin is a season 1 OG character. It is... I know people have their criticisms about Eric Wallace, but it's known that is one of the stupidest things you can do, is kill off an older character on the show. You let them leave. That's why they didn't kill off Cisco. They just let Cisco leave. You don't kill off characters like that, regardless of the reasoning behind it. There actually is no proper reason. You just write them off and let them have a proper ending. It would be one of the stupidest things if Caitlin were to die. So what do I think happens? I think it's Frost that dies. Frost has had interaction with everyone here. You could argue they've had more interaction with Frost on Team Flash than Caitlin, especially Allegra and Chester. So I think it's Frost. Now, Frost is an action character. We've seen it, like goes out in the field, helps Barry because she has powers. Now, she hasn't been on set doing anything with her powers since episode 13, the episode before this one. And there's been action scenes where, as I said, they had Allegra and Cecile with a mech cyborg dude alongside Barry. We've seen stuff recently from set over the past month or something. Once again, no Frost seen on set. She was last seen on set around episode 13, as I said, the episode before this one. So what do I think happens? I don't think Caitlin dies. There's no reason for Caitlin to be on the field. She's a Star Labs person. She's a doctor. So she's just a person that's in Star Labs. So I think Frost maybe sacrifices herself to kill Deathstorm, but also allow Ronnie to pass on properly and not be trapped in limbo. We did have that conversation. Was it last episode? Yeah, last episode. Lost my time, track of time because we had that week break. But last episode, when Frost was talking to Caitlin and told her that she felt Caitlin's emotions, so she knows everything about that, and she sort of felt them herself, and she holds on to those. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see Frost use her abilities to sort of kill Deathstorm and take that away from Ronnie. But I think that might leave Ronnie there for a tiny bit where he gets a proper farewell, and you might see both Ronnie and Frost pass away. And you might get funerals for both of them. So you get a funeral for Frost, and then also that maybe they do a proper funeral for Ronnie as well. I'm not too sure. As I said, it would be the biggest... It wouldn't be the biggest because some shows have done it, but they get massive backlash. I just don't see them killing Caitlyn in that manner, just because it's like a no-no. You just don't do that regardless of the character. But Frost, I think they're struggling in a way to constantly have Frost and Caitlyn do things, but keep them separate at the same time. And I think after a few episodes after they got originally, separated last season, it wore a bit thin. It wore a bit thin. I think the only reason they separated them last season was so you could have that court storyline. I think that was pretty much it. I don't think there was any other reason to separate them outside of that. But yeah, that's just my prediction. I actually haven't seen too many people saying Frost, but that's my sole opinion, and I just believe that's the way they're going to go. And I think it somewhat makes sense to the story, while also not being like, it's sad, but not ridiculously sad as well, because I think it gives somewhat of a comforting ending to Ronnie's story at the same time, if that's the way they go about it. So I'm intrigued to see how they do it, but I think it's going to be Frost that, is the one that dies, and she's the one they have the funeral for. But yeah, guys, that's it to talk about. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions about everything we went over. Who do you think dies? Do you agree with me? Maybe you didn't before, but maybe after my explanation you go, yeah, Frost makes sense. But yeah, let me know all your opinions down there, and anything from the trailer as well. Any theories, predictions, I'm always curious to read them. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.